So living a happy and fulfilling life is not something that happens by chance, it's something that we cultivate, and it's a lot simpler than you might think. I'm Georgia, and in this video I'm going to be talking about 5 exceptionally simple things that you can do that will have a drastic effect on your overall life and happiness. These are things that I've implemented in my own life, and all I can say is that I wish I did them sooner because they seriously up-leveled my life. So the first exceptionally simple thing that you can start to do, which I think everyone should do, is learn to meditate. And by meditate, I mean specifically learning to observe your thoughts, because when you learn to do this, it leads you to a crucial conclusion, and that is that your thoughts are not real. So obviously we have thousands and thousands of thoughts every day, and the problem is that most people become identified with these thoughts. So for example, say you have a thought that says, I'm unworthy. Most people will identify with that thought and believe it to be an objective truth. But the thing is, these thoughts only become true because we identify with them. When we identify with them and we keep repeating these thoughts in our head, they become our beliefs. And our beliefs become our outer reality, because our external physical reality is a reflection of our internal reality. So if we keep thinking the same thoughts and turning them into beliefs and identifying with them, then we will experience that in our life, not because it's objectively true, but because the universe is reflecting that back to us, because that's how the law of attraction works. And as soon as we identify with one of these beliefs, it starts to act like a filter on our reality. So like the previous example, I am unworthy, we view all our circumstances through that filter of being unworthy. So if you take, for example, say you are messaging someone and they are taking forever to reply, you might view that as that confirming that you are unworthy, when in reality they're probably just busy or having their own issues. It is no reflection on you, but we view it like that because we've identified with that thought and we view reality through that lens. This is why meditation is so crucial. When you learn to meditate and observe your thoughts, you just let them pass by in your mind. So just imagine they're like clouds in the sky that are drifting past. Don't identify with them, don't resist them, just let them be there and let them pass, essentially. When you do that, you are going to live a much calmer and a much more relaxing life, because instead of viewing situations in life through this filter of these thoughts that we've identified with, you now see situations much more clearly. And instead of reacting to situations through the beliefs you've identified with, you can start responding to situations. This, I promise, will make your life so much calmer. And my next tip to up-level your life leads on from my meditation tip, and that is to change your stories. So as I've explained, your reality is a reflection of your beliefs, because your external reality is a reflection of your internal reality. And this is based on the law of attraction, the law of assumption, basically these universal laws which make our outer reality a reflection of our internal reality. So if you have these stories in your head that you keep repeating, they eventually become a belief, and that belief will become reflected in your outer reality. Now, what does this mean? It means that essentially you have the power to change your outer reality by simply changing the stories in your head. And one example of this happening in my own life is I went through a period of not being able to sleep very well at all, and I kept telling the story to myself and to other people that I can't sleep, I found it so hard to get to sleep, I must have insomnia, you know, all these stories I was saying, affirming that I just cannot get to sleep. And guess what happened? It just got worse and worse and worse, and it would take me literally hours to fall asleep. So I eventually started trying to stop telling myself that story, and since then the problem has definitely got quite a bit better, and that's because I've stopped affirming to myself that I can't sleep. So what you want to do that's going to help up-level your life is identify the stories that you've been telling yourself and see how many of them are detrimental. And out of those detrimental stories, you then want to try and change those stories to something that's positive and is going to benefit your life. So the third way that you can up-level your life is going to sound so ridiculously simple, but I cannot explain to you the benefit this had on my life when I started doing it. And that is simply to start feeling your emotions. And I know how ridiculous this sounds, but the truth is that most people don't know how to actually healthily feel their emotions. Most people either suppress and repress them, or they escape them. And the thing is, emotions are energy in motion. It's just energy that is trying to pass through and out of our body. So any emotions that we perceive as negative, any unpleasant emotions basically, they're not inherently negative. They only become negative when we do one of the things I've just explained. So when we do those things and we don't truly feel our emotions, that energy isn't released. It becomes stuck in our body and blocks up our energetic system. And this is bad for a number of reasons. One being, it becomes stuck in our system and unconscious. So through the law of attraction, we attract situations on a similar frequency to that emotion, because the emotion is still stuck residing in our body because we haven't let it go. And another thing that happens is that throughout life, when we experience certain things, these emotions that haven't been let go get triggered. So we end up reacting to situations in ways that are either unjustified, or we just have an emotional reaction that we don't understand why we're having. And that is because these emotions that have become suppressed and stuck within our system, they've become unconscious, and they get triggered whenever a similar situation that caused them comes around again. So we end up having these extreme emotional reactions to situations when we don't necessarily need to. So the answer to this is so simple. It is just to literally learn to feel your emotions when they arise and feel them without judgment. Just let the emotion be there, because when you do that, you let that emotion pass out of you. You don't create an unconscious wound within you. You actually heal the situation as it happens. It's not something that's going to have to linger with you for God knows how many years when you don't realise that you have this unconscious wound that you never processed. So my fourth tip to up-level your life is to pay attention to how things make you feel, and specifically how they make you feel energetically. So, for example, I used to spend a lot of time on TikTok, and what I eventually realised was every time I would do that, I would feel so energetically drained afterwards that it was just something that clearly was not good for me to do. And I feel like a lot of the time we probably do these things as a form of escapism. Back to the previous point of not truly feeling our emotions, we just like to escape, numb our mind, and do something that's not necessarily good for us. I would just simply recommend paying more attention to what drains you and what makes you feel good, and obviously doing more of the latter instead. So for me, I found that instead of scrolling on TikTok, when I watch programs on Gaia, and if you don't know what Gaia is, it's just like a spiritual version of Netflix. When I watch like documentaries and stuff on there, I end up feeling so empowered and so ready to tackle life, and it just makes me feel so good. So I really try and make a conscious effort to do more of that instead of the other things that I know will energetically drain me and just make me feel less productive and less good in life. And my fifth and final tip to up-level your life is to embrace and seriously focus on cultivating your own authenticity and uniqueness. And I feel like this is something which, again, probably sounds quite simple, but I feel like a lot of people don't do it. And one example from my own life is that I was studying a degree in law, which I did complete. And the logical step from that would have been to go on and become a lawyer. But I knew definitively that law just was not right for me. What is for me is studying everything I talk about now. I'm doing a master's now in consciousness, spirituality and transpersonal psychology, and most people around me have no idea what that is and just don't understand why I would do that. And people can be vocal about that, but the thing is, because I am so sure that I am doing what I'm meant to do and it's authentic to me, again, it doesn't bother me. So basically, I think this is all about developing such a strong sense of self that you are not swayed by the opinions of people around you or society, so that you can do what is authentic to you no matter how it is perceived by anyone else, and ultimately having the strength to just live in tune with what you know is right for you. It's going to make you feel so whole and fulfilled, and it's going to build up your resilience and confidence because you are strong enough to not be swayed by everyone else around you. And obviously life is just so much better when you are living authentically. So this is my reminder to try and make sure that you are cultivating that in your own life. So I hope these tips were helpful, and I hope you use them to up-level your own life.